One of the reasons INFJs sometimes feel out of place in the world is the rarity of their personality. INFJs make up only a small percentage of the population, which means they seldom meet others who truly share their perspective. The conversations they crave are hard to come by in a culture that often prioritizes speed, convenience, and surface-level interactions. While most people are satisfied with casual chatter, INFJs find themselves yearning for dialogue that feels like soul-to-soul connection. INFJs don't just rely on facts or logic. They read between the lines and pick up on emotional signals that others may never consciously notice. This means they often know when something is wrong even before the facts line up, or they understand motives that people themselves may not be aware of. While this gives them an almost uncanny accuracy in reading situations, it can also make them feel like they're living in a different dimension, one where the truth is always visible but not always welcome. If you're an INFJ, ensure to check out our INFJ Playbook Kit. The link is in the description of this video. INFJs are very empathetic. They can't help but absorb the emotions of others, carrying both the joys and the wounds they encounter. This sensitivity can be overwhelming in a world that sometimes rewards emotional detachment. While others can brush off cruelty, hypocrisy, or injustice as just the way things are, INFJs feel these things deeply, as if they were personal blows. Their hearts are wired to care, even when it costs them energy, and this can make them feel like strangers in a culture that so often normalizes apathy. The way they approach life choices further separates them from the norm. INFJs rarely make decisions solely for personal gain. They weigh the impact on others, the alignment with their values, and the long-term ripple effects. In a society that often celebrates quick wins, self-promotion, and individual advancement, their more deliberate, service-driven mindset can feel like it belongs to another time or another planet. They often wonder why more people don't see the obvious harm in cutting ethical corners, or why depth is treated like a luxury instead of a necessity. Even in relationships, the INFJ's depth can create a quiet distance. They love with intensity, but they do so with intention. They notice subtle shifts in tone, the energy behind someone's words, or the meaning in a prolonged silence. This makes them excellent at understanding people, but also means they quickly spot inconsistencies and emotional dishonesty. Many people aren't comfortable with that level of insight, and so the INFJ learns to hold back parts of themselves to avoid unsettling others. Over time, this withholding creates an internal gap, a sense of being present in the world but never fully seen within it. For many INFJs, the feeling of being an alien is tied to the way they experience time and life's pace. They are often attuned to long-term visions and the unseen consequences of present actions, while the world around them tends to focus on immediate results. This future-oriented awareness can make them feel like they are living years ahead of those around them, holding truths or seeing possibilities that others are not yet ready to understand. It is a strange and sometimes lonely experience, knowing you can already sense where things are heading, but feeling powerless to make others see it until it happens. An INFJ's imagination is vast, detailed, and deeply immersive. They can spend hours exploring the complexities of an idea, a relationship, or a moral question. While others might be satisfied with straightforward answers, INFJs are constantly peeling back layers, wondering about the why behind the what, and questioning the deeper meaning of everything. This internal richness is beautiful, but can also be isolating when they realize most people are content to stay on the surface. The moral compass of an INFJ also tends to be uncompromising. They have a strong sense of right and wrong that does not bend easily under societal pressure. In a world where bending the truth, chasing quick rewards, or choosing convenience over integrity is common, this steadfastness can make them feel like outsiders. They are often baffled by how easily others can accept dishonesty or injustice as normal. This dissonance between their values and the behavior they see around them reinforces the sensation that they are operating on a different wavelength altogether. Socially, INFJs may feel like they're wearing a mask much of the time. They are skilled at adapting to different environments, blending in when necessary, and mirroring the tone of those they're with. But this adaptability can come at the cost of authenticity. In group settings, they might downplay their depth or conceal their truest thoughts to avoid alienating others, only to leave feeling drained and unseen. The disconnect between their outward presentation and their inward reality can make them feel as if they are permanently living between worlds, never fully belonging to either. The irony is that this sense of alienation often makes INFJs even more determined to create pockets of the world where they do feel at home. They might build deep friendships with a select few, create art that reflects their inner vision, or pour themselves into causes that align with their ideals. In these spaces, they could drop the mask and exist fully, without compromise. But outside those safe havens, the world can feel foreign, unpredictable, and at times, disheartening. And yet, this feeling of not quite belonging becomes part of their identity. It sharpens their empathy for others who feel out of place, fuels their desire to protect the vulnerable, and gives them the courage to challenge systems that hurt rather than heal. The alien feeling never fully goes away, but over time, many INFJs come to see it not as a flaw, but as evidence that they are here to do something different, something only an outsider's perspective could bring to life. INFJs also often feel like aliens because their priorities seem inverted compared to the world's expectations. Where society frequently rewards speed, visibility, and relentless self-promotion, INFJs are drawn toward careful reflection, meaningful contribution, and quiet integrity. They measure success not by status or accumulation, but by the depth of their impact and the authenticity of their actions. This way of moving through life can make them feel out of step with a culture that thrives on noise and spectacle. The emotional honesty they crave is another reason they often feel alien. INFJs long for unguarded exchanges where truth can be spoken without fear, but they live in a world where many are afraid to be fully seen. They often sense that people wear layers of protection, masks built from insecurity, cultural expectations, or the need to impress. And while they can navigate these social layers with ease, it leaves them yearning for something more real. It can feel like being surrounded by people speaking in half-truths, while you are fluent in a language no one else will admit to knowing. Another reason INFJs often feel like aliens is the way they experience connection and disconnection simultaneously. They can be surrounded by people, sharing laughter and conversation, and still feel like they're observing the scene from somewhere slightly apart. It's not detachment in the cold sense. It's more like existing in two places at once, present in the moment yet anchored in a deeper inner world. While others might get lost in the surface-level energy of a situation, the INFJ's mind is quietly weaving through layers of meaning, hidden emotions, and unspoken dynamics. This dual awareness makes them acutely conscious of what's real and what's performance, which can be both enlightening and isolating. They also feel alien because they see contradictions in human behavior that others seem content to ignore. They notice when people preach kindness yet act selfishly, when institutions claim to stand for justice yet turn a blind eye to inequality, or when someone says, "I'm fine," while their entire presence radiates the opposite. These inconsistencies weigh on them. They aren't naive about human flaws, but their longing for integrity and alignment means they can't shrug off hypocrisy as easily as others might. It makes them question how much of what they witness is genuine and how much is illusion, a question that can quietly distance them from the mainstream current. Their sense of purpose also contributes to this feeling. Many INFJs carry an inner conviction that they are here to do something meaningful, though they may not yet know exactly what that is. This calling hums in the background of their lives, influencing their choices and making it hard to settle for what feels shallow or temporary. While others might be content to follow a well-trodden path simply because it's safe or conventional, INFJs are compelled toward authenticity, even when it sets them apart or leads them into the unknown. That constant pull toward deeper purpose can make them feel like they're walking a path few others see. The emotional intensity with which they experience the world can also set them apart. Joy, for an INFJ, isn't just a pleasant feeling. It's a full body, soul-deep resonance. Pain isn't just discomfort. It's a weight that lingers, even if it isn't their own. They live in a spectrum of emotional richness that many around them don't access, or perhaps don't want to. It's as though they're tuned to pick up every frequency in the emotional atmosphere, while others are content to hear only the loudest notes. This heightened sensitivity can make everyday life feel both more vivid and more exhausting. INFJs also feel like aliens because they often hold perspectives that seem invisible to those around them. They can see the threads connecting events, behaviors, and choices long before the pattern becomes obvious to others. This foresight can be a heavy thing to carry. It's like standing on a hilltop, and watching a storm roll, and while everyone else is still basking in the sunshine. They may try to warn, guide, or prepare people, but their insight is often met with skepticism until hindsight proves them right. By then, the INFJ has already absorbed the weight of knowing and the loneliness of not being believed. Their approach to truth is another dividing line between them and the world at large. Many people prefer comfortable illusions, softening or reshaping reality to avoid discomfort. INFJs, while sensitive, still crave unfiltered truth, even if it hurts. This makes them willing to face realities others avoid, and that willingness can create distance. They walk into the deeper, sometimes darker waters of understanding without flinching, while others cling to the shallows. It's not that INFJs seek pain. They seek clarity because they know it's the foundation for any lasting good. But in a culture that often confuses optimism with denial, this clarity can make them feel like strangers. There's also the matter of pace. INFJs move slowly in certain aspects of life, not out of hesitation, but out of deliberation. They consider the emotional, ethical, and long-term effects of their choices before acting. The world, however, is built for speed, quick clicks, instant gratification, fast results. To an INFJ, this frantic pace can feel alien, even hostile to the kind of thoughtful existence they value. They often feel they are swimming against a current that reward impulsivity while penalizing depth. Their relationship with solitude deepens this sense of otherness. INFJs need extended stretches of alone time to process their experiences, recenter, and protect their emotional balance. In a society that often equates constant socializing with success or happiness, this need for solitude can be misunderstood as aloofness. They know they can't sustain their depth and clarity without these breaks, but the way it distances them from others can heighten their sense of being apart from the crowd. Another reason INFJs so often feel like aliens is the way they navigate conflict and communication. While many people approach disagreements with the goal of winning or defending a position, INFJs are wired to seek resolution, understanding, and mutual growth. This approach can confuse those who expect combative exchanges or quick compromises. Instead of arguing for the sake of proving a point, an INFJ will slow the conversation, peel back emotional layers, and try to uncover the core truth beneath the tension. In fast-moving, debate-driven spaces, this depth can feel out of place, like they're speaking a dialect that only a few can understand. Their relationship with ambition also contributes to this. Many people are driven by clear external milestones, titles, wealth, public recognition, while INFJs often measure success in far more intangible ways. They ask questions like, did I help someone grow? Or did I stay true to my values? This inward orientation can be difficult for others to grasp, especially in competitive cultures where worth is tied to outward achievement. When an INFJ turns down opportunities that could bring them prestige because it doesn't align with their deeper sense of purpose, they can be met with confusion or even criticism, reinforcing the feeling of being on a different path altogether. INFJs also experience time in a different way. They are often present in the moment while also carrying the echoes of the past and the possibilities of the future in their awareness. This simultaneous connection to multiple timelines can make them appear distracted or distant, even when they're listening intently. They might see the seeds of consequences in small decisions or feel the long shadow of past events in ways others have long forgotten. Living with this multidimensional sense of time can make the pace of everyday life feel both too fast and strangely disconnected. This sense of alienness runs so deep in INFJs that it becomes almost woven into their identity. They are often acutely aware of the fact that they don't quite sync with the common emotional and social rhythms around them. Conversations that skim the surface feel like walking through a world made of glass, visible but untouchable. They can participate, smile, and respond appropriately, but inside they are craving something richer, a space where they can exhale and speak the language of the soul without having to translate it into something lighter or safer for public consumption. INFJs also carry a rare combination of conviction and adaptability. They can blend in almost anywhere if they choose to, reading the tone of the room and reflecting it back in a way that makes others feel understood. But even as they adapt outwardly, they rarely compromise their inner compass. They might laugh along, nod in agreement, and move in step with the group, but inside they're holding to principles that are unshakable. This dual reality, appearing to belong while inwardly holding a separate truth, can feel like living behind an invisible veil. Yet, it's this very sense of alienation that shapes their quiet power. Because they have always felt a little separate, they are able to see clearly what others miss. Their outsider's perspective becomes their gift, allowing them to serve as guides, healers, and visionaries for those who are ready to go deeper. If you're an INFJ, ensure to check out our INFJ Playbook Kit. The link is in the description of this video.